Hello everyone, welcome back to Writing Quest. My name is Brendan, and in this video today I'm going to talk about what I call the rolling outline. I hope it helps you. Here we go. Huzzah! Okay, so today I'm talking about the rolling outline. What is that? What do I mean by that? Now, I'm not going to claim that this is something that I created or anything like that. It might already be out there, so if you've seen this somewhere, please put it in the comments or the description or whatever. Let me know. This is just kind of what happens to me. So generally seems to be like we always put ourselves in two camps. There's either the people that have to outline everything from the beginning immediately, like they have to know every single detail before they start writing. And then there's the people that just free write. I actually think that those people don't necessarily exist. I think there's some people who are like either extreme of that camp, but most people are probably somewhere in the middle. I'm definitely in the middle. So when I outline, part of the reason that our story has exploded so much is because I'm always thinking of like a big saga. I think that's why I love Star Wars so much, and I love Lord of the Rings, and I love the Marvel movies, it's this huge planned out story, and everything that happens before affects everything that happens in the future. And those are just so appealing. I just love a long story that maybe the individual stories aren't hyper connected, but there's always these threads tying between, there's very few, like I can't think of myself ever writing just like a single novel that just, to me, it's like, if there isn't this huge grand scheme, like that's what I want, the big grand plan. So like I have a couple of novels planned that are individual stories, but they're based off of like, they lead into a part of a different novel or something like that. So for me, my rolling outline is this. I have my huge outline, which is a broad outline of every single book and the whole story of the whole saga. So currently, with the trilogies I have planned, there's 12 books, and then there's like 8 other books that are peppered in there as these individual books or trilogies. So the trilogies is what I'm going to focus on. So the main trilogies I have, like, they each have their arc kind of planned. Who's going to be the main character, the threads that tie it all together, kind of the beginnings and middles and ends of each book, kind of. That's a very, very loose, obviously, you want to keep it so that you can actually change it as you go. But the rolling outline comes in, so I have that general thing. And then the rolling outline comes in as I'm writing. So I found that it's way too hard for me. It's too much for me to think about of like every detail and planning out the whole thing. And like all the different chapters and all the different things. So what I've done is I know where I want it to end. I know where the book is supposed to end. And I know where it begins. And I get a couple of glimpses as I think about it of like particular story beats, and then a couple things from the main outline that I need to incorporate. So like I have a couple of things that like of items that I want to be passed through the whole story. So I know where those need to show up. And then the rolling outline though is as I write, I always have outlined the next like 2 to 4 chapters. So as I'm writing, I have the outline open and I fill in the blanks as I'm writing and thinking about things. So I'm writing along for my daily writing, and then I go, hey, that's a good thread. Let's put that thread in chapter 6. It may not end up eventually in chapter 6. Maybe I end up moving it to chapter 8. Maybe I end up moving it to chapter 20. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm keeping track as I'm writing. I learned about doing this when I was writing my first book, which is in revision process now. I'd love to get that out sooner or later. But as I've been writing the first one, I just free wrote it. I kind of had an idea of where I wanted to go, and then I'd stop and I'd try to outline the whole thing all at once. And it just became a mess. You've heard me talk about that many times before. It was a mess. And so I'm trying to avoid that now I have the general outline of the whole thing, general outline. And then I go back into and I outline as I go. So it's kind of a combination of both things. I have found this to be the best way to go. So like at the beginning of this story, if you go back to all the way to episode 1, which I think is hilarious watching it now, seeing how much the story has changed and all the different things we've gone through. I'm going to call those first 20 episodes as like the ideation process. But we were just free writing. So basically the whole story premise was based off of, I'd had these future stories that are in my head already that I'd wrote some. And I just wrote like a couple of paragraphs, and then that was the spark of the story. And then we just went ahead and free wrote. And that's what the first few episodes are, just us free writing and kind of this whole mess, this whole amalgamation of just any idea that popped into our head. And that works. I think that's a really great way to start. And now that's part of why we ended up splitting the book. If you've watched previous episodes, you know we were writing a book. We got too far too fast. We decided to split it. And so now we are writing a much more cohesive story using this process with the beginnings of that free writing stage and the concept of the story. And now we're going into a much cleaner, much better way. And I want to get to the end of our first draft being pretty clean as far as story things, plot holes, missed details. Like I'm doing a lot, so part of this rolling outline too, there's kind of 3 parts. There's the main part, which is the writing. There's the post part, which is the filling out the outline as you go. And their pre part though is continuing to listen and read through what you've already written, so you keep it fresh in your head. Again, with my first draft I ever wrote, it's a mess because I didn't keep everything in mind that I had before. And so now I got to go back and some of my outline that I have and like fill in the blanks to make sure that it's accurate. Some of this may be basic. Some of this stuff, maybe there's some more experienced writers out there who are like, duh, dude. But I've never written anything before. And as I'm learning and growing, and that's, I've learned to do these things. So I hope that helps all of you guys. I hope that you enjoy what we're doing here. We have had a lot of fun. We love telling the story. Ultimately, this all comes out of loving to tell stories. And so thank you so much for watching. My name is Brendan. This is Writing Quest. Please like, comment, share, subscribe if this helped you out, and we will see you next time on Writing Quest. Huzzah!